also did legal nurse consulting. So what happened is just before I was going to be laid off, it's like God was just like looking out for me. I get a call from a law firm down in Palm Beach, Florida. We have this is for the plaintiffs, for the patients. We have a huge outbreak of mediastinitis down here. And we need somebody at your level of expertise to work with us. And I said, well, okay, let me talk to you. So we got together, and they had accrued at that point by sending a little note out in the Palm Beach Journal or whatever, the newsletter or newspaper. If you have had surgery at such and such a hospital and you got a cardiac infection of your chest, kept to kind of give us a call. We had 150 good cases. It was awful. People lost their sternum. People had S-mark dams on them. They had plates that they had to live with for the rest of their life because somebody could have punched them in the heart. They had no sternums. There's no such thing as a sternal transplant. It was awful. So I would fly down and spend a week in a hotel room with medical records piled up high because we had no computers back then. And I would go through them and do a line listing. So I developed the line listing of all the cases and, actually what we do like for NHSM, like a line listing, and was guiding the attorneys on how would we make this case to be able to go to court. And one of the things we realized is that the ICD-9 codes, now we have 10, but 9 back then, were recorded in Florida that we could get access to. And so they pulled out all the ICD-9 codes for mediastinitis and condochondritis, two of the infections that we were seeing for all the districts in Florida. And lo and behold, does not Palm Beach stick out? And lo and behold, didn't we get down to the fact that it was this particular hospital? And so they just knew they couldn't win the case. Now, because I was so shocked by what these attorneys had, I actually called the CDC. I called people that I knew that had a surgical background, Dr. Ron Nichols. I called this. They did not want to touch it with the 10-foot pole, not for the patients, because we were the plaintiff. And I'm like, somebody's going to get into this hospital and investigate. I don't want to sit here, just keep more and more cases. Well, anyways, it took us 7 years to win it. And they won $33 million for those patients, but most of them had died already. And it was sad. It was just, but on the other hand, I'm walking between these two worlds, setting up this yoga studio, but I would take a week off and go down there and do all this investigative work. And so it helped me continue to be in the field of infection prevention as a legal nurse consultant. And that's another thing I learned a lot of what they do. They had a mole in the OR. They had somebody that they paid off. They do just sneaky. And if you do not record it in the record, it is considered not done. That's a big issue, documentation, that we still struggle with. I mean, even with electronic medical records, where you think it's so easy to just check off a box and say you did something. When you don't do that, you're liable. I just couldn't believe the things that I learned, of how they work cases up when they go to court that we should know about in healthcare. Yeah. So it was fascinating. I'm glad I did it. And yet I was super glad I did set up that yoga studio and learned how to be a nurse entrepreneur. Because when I got laid off from Mass General, they gave me 6 months of an outpatient placement service up in Boston. And I would go up there, and I was hanging out with all these executives that got laid off from, there was a big chain called Bradley's that they got laid off from, or different corporations because of, the time period, things getting really tough back then. And I learned a lot. They put me in the entrepreneurs group. A lot of these, mostly guys, I was one of the few women who wanted to set up their own construction companies or businesses, consulting businesses. So I learned a lot about, an LLC versus a C-suite versus, a C or an S corporation, and how to do your taxes, and, how to be self-employed and estimated tax returns, and things that really can overwhelm people, how to get health insurance, how to set up a 401k. You can do everything that you do being stuck in a job on the outside. And so then when I came back in, I didn't have fear. I knew that, okay, if something happened, I can just do it again. It's a great experience to run a company and be successful. As you got a successful company going, right?